It's Tuesday and it's time for Falcon Focus. Welcome to this week's edition of Falcon Focus, episode number 7 here in season number 3. And our focus this week is hockey. And in segment number 2, we talk women's hockey as they will drop the puck next Tuesday for real against Lawrence at 7 o'clock from the Ozaki Ice Center. Ellie Tabeka, the new assistant coach, will join us in the second segment. But first, we talk ECHA hockey as they get ready to begin conference play and a big home-and-home series coming up this weekend to begin league play against Marion. And kind enough to join us here this morning is junior forward Scott Greger. My name is Matt Menzel. Thanks for joining us on CUWFalcons.com. And Scott, I'm sure, at this point, the ECHA program has been around now 5 seasons here on the Concordia campus, but it's a question I know I still get. I'm venturing you still get it too, but, often I get asked, what is ACHA hockey and how does it differ or compare to NCAA hockey? How would you go about answering that question?
Yeah, I get that question a lot, and it's kind of a tough one to answer. A lot of people just describe it as club hockey, but I would say it's a lot more competitive than most club sports. There's still a lot of really good hockey players, and people still want to win really bad. So, yeah, it's really a tough question. I get it all the time. So,
and if you fans haven't been to an ACHA hockey game yet, what are you waiting for? I mean, it's quality hockey too, and some great hockey, some great competition. Last year the Falcons certainly played awfully well. A number of upset specials against some ranked competition, but again, just quality hockey. And team will be in action at the Ozaki Ice Center at 7:30 on Saturday against Marion. But for you, as far as hockey goes, when did you first start playing hockey? What got you into the sport?
I started playing when I was 2 years old, and I had an older brother that played. So that's really what got me into the sport. I had 2 older brothers. One of them's actually on the team also. But yeah, I started from a young age, and that's pretty much all I've known since I was a kid. So that's where all my friends come from, and yeah.
So growing up, then, did you aspire to potentially play college hockey one day?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I even in high school, I didn't really know that ACHA hockey was an option, and I wasn't quite at the level to play NCAA hockey, and I didn't want to go play juniors. So this was a great option for me to go to school right away and get an education and still play the sport I love. So
you're from Ashland, Wisconsin, way up north on Lake Superior.
Yep.
How big is hockey big up there?
Yeah, it's pretty big. Growing up, we played mostly Minnesota teams. We hardly played any Wisconsin teams just because we were a lot closer to them and there are a lot more of them. So I would say in Ashland, it's pretty big, but it's a small town, so you still don't get huge numbers. But as soon as you go across the border, everybody plays hockey, so that's where you saw most of it.
How close is the Minnesota border?
We're about an hour from it, but that's also how close we are to the next city in Wisconsin. So, yeah.
So if somebody asked you, what is Ashland known for, what would you say? Is there any
logging?
Okay.
Yeah, Lake Superior, fishing, hunting, stuff like that.
I make it sound like it's a different country, but I know up there winters can be harsh. I mean, obviously it gets wintry down here as well. But what is a typical winter like? How cold, maybe how snowy does it get up there?
We usually get quite a bit of snow. I want to say we usually get probably 4 to 5 feet of snow, and then it's coldest. It probably gets 30, 40 below.
You get a lot of snow days?
No,
not at all.
No. We have to get a lot of snow, and it has to get really cold for them to cancel school. So we usually got 1 a year.
Well, of course, you went to Ashland High School, home of the Ordockers. What's an Ordocker?
I get that question a lot too. We had the Ordocks because Ashland used to be a pretty big shipping port for coal and iron. So I think it was just Ordocks, and the people that worked on the Ordocks were Ordockers. So
So going back to your days as an or-docker outside of hockey, what other maybe sports or activities were you involved in?
I played golf, football, and baseball growing up as a kid. And I also love to hunt and fish and stuff like that. So
So is hockey, though, as far as, sports you play, was that always number one?
yeah, hockey was always number one. I'd say golf was number two.
Okay.
I actually went to state in golf
Oh, wow.
in high school. So
Swinging a golf club versus swinging a hockey stick, does that mess up, between the two sports? Does that mess with you at all? The different forms?
not really. I'm actually left-handed in hockey,
wow.
and I
Okay.
play golf right-handed.
No
So,
kidding.
Yeah. It's kind of weird, but yeah, no. I mean, most of the kids that I actually played against in high school were also hockey players, and I believe there's a few hockey players on the golf team here at Concordia. So
Mhm.
I don't know. I think it translates pretty well.
So then how did you end up here at Concordia, and why the ACHA team?
My brother was recruited to come play here. He's a year older than me, so I just kind of followed him here. And like I said, I wasn't quite the caliber of player to
Mhm.
make the NCAA team, so ACHA was the next best thing.
You bring up your brother Matt, who, as you mentioned, is also part of the team. What's it like to get the opportunity to play with him?
It's awesome. We haven't played together this year yet on the same line, but growing up, we've played together, so we usually click pretty well. And we always get compliments after the game of how we just compliment each other very well on the ice. So.
And you look at the ACHA roster, a couple of brother combos for the Falcons, and again, even as far as the relations go, you look at this team and close knit, and it seems like you guys are just in sync and know where to move that puck, how to get that puck down ice, and we'll talk about that as we go along because the results have followed. And this is a team that certainly has been on the rise last now couple of years, getting some national recognition. Let's talk about your first year, though, and that's where it kind of began, your first year with the ACHA team back in 2019-20. You scored 18 goals, added 19 assists. Before we talk about the team, a lot of firsts. And when you talk to athletes, sometimes baseball player, do you remember your first hit, first home run? Do you remember your first goal?
I do, actually. It was a pass from Wyatt Wilderman. I was backdoor. Nothing really special, but went in the back of the net. So, yeah, it was pretty exciting. Yeah, there was a huge student section that night. That was T-shirt night, if anybody remembers that. But, yeah, it was a pretty special moment.
That first season, the team performed awfully well, won a program best 25 games. When you look at that team's success, why were you guys so successful in your opinion?
I think we were just really tight-knit. Yeah, we all just wanted to win. We all wanted to work hard. We didn't have a lot of graduating seniors, so we all had already kind of got to know each other. And, yeah, we also we love to have fun on the ice too,
Mm-hmm.
so that's a huge part of it. It's a good mix of being there for business and being there for, I mean, you still love the game, love to play it. So,
And you look at the success, and it got off to a strong start. The team did that year with an unbeaten streak, first 12 unbeaten, then also had an 11-game win streak at one stretch late. Had an incredible run during the HAP Cup tournament, got to the championship match before falling in overtime against Marion. Look at that tournament run. How much fun was that run? I mean, you guys pretty much did the unexpected.
yeah, that was insane. I think we still talk about that quite a bit. We only had 11 skaters that entire weekend, and 2 of the 3 games went into overtime.
Yeah.
So we were pretty exhausted. That was one of those games where you really wish you would have had it. You were right there. It was so close, but I mean, you can't complain with that run against 3 full rosters of really talented hockey players. So.
And then the team was able to essentially pick up where they left off from that season. All of a sudden, you go into what was a unique 2020-21 campaign, and the team went 12-14, but ranked in the ACHA national poll pretty much throughout. Knocked off, as mentioned, a couple of ranked opponents. Qualified for the ACHA Division II national tournament in North Dakota. Your memories of last season?
It was pretty crazy with COVID and
Yeah.
everything. I know we started playing at the beginning of the year, and then COVID became a problem, so we kind of had to stop playing there for a while and then started it back up. So when you think back on it, it almost seems like two different seasons. You kind of forget that it was the same year. But yeah, it was nuts, especially the Iowa State game. They ended up taking second place at Nationals, and we ended up beating them at home in the regular season. That was pretty awesome. I think that was by far the best game that we've played as a team since I've been here. So, yeah, that was pretty fun.
You know, we had Trenton Sherman on this program last year and talked about the uniqueness, as you mentioned, of the season where it began, a couple of games on Halloween, November 1st, and then all of a sudden to not play again until January the 22nd. What was that time period like? Was it a wait and see where you guys kind of, left in limbo going, are we going to continue the season? Is it going to continue? What was the mindset after the season was on pause after November 1st?
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of what it was like. Nobody was really sure if we were going to continue. I think a lot of people had high hopes that we were going to continue. But again, everybody just tried to kind of focus on school and stay in shape. And yeah, it was pretty tough to not play for that long and then try to get back on the ice and play at a high level.
And the best part is, picked it back up January 22nd, able to essentially play right through mid-April. Now, high expectations again surrounding the ACHA team here this season, and one of the big changes, though, comes on the bench. A brand new head coach in Shea Klitsky, replacing Brandon Richards, who was at the helm for 3 seasons. Among those on the coaching staff, a former teammate of yours in Dakota Delbridge. But has that been a smooth transition so far, the coaching change going from Coach Richards to Coach Klitsky?
Yeah, I think it has. There was a lot of talk coming into the season. It was kind of unexpected when Richards left. It was pretty close to the beginning of season, but I think a lot of the guys really respect Shea, and obviously Deli being there that helps a lot because he already kind of knows the team, and he helps Shea out quite a bit. But yeah, a lot of the guys really want to perform for Shea. He doesn't have to demand a lot because a lot of the guys just know it's expected of us to work hard and perform well. So, yeah.
From a team standpoint, already 8 games in, and forget wins and losses for a second, you guys have played another challenging non-conference slate, and among those non-conference opponents, got the opportunity to play a couple of weeks ago. Well, by the time you play again this week, it'll be a couple of weeks when you visited Florida Gulf Coast, the team you saw at Nationals back in April. But just your thoughts on the way the team's playing at this point?
I think we're playing really well. Yeah, obviously the record doesn't really show that right now, but we've been playing a lot of tough teams. And again, with the coaching change, we're still kind of trying to figure stuff out. Players are trying to figure out his coaching style. He's trying to figure out his players. So I think we're really close to having that all ironed out. And, yeah, I think we can expect to start winning a lot of these games against really tough opponents. I know FGCU was a very good hockey team, and we saw them at Nationals last year, and that game did not go as well as this past weekend.
You look at team-wise, okay, we mentioned already some good non-conference competition. Now you have, since that Florida Gulf Coast series will be 2 weeks by the time you hit the ice again for this weekend's home and home against Marion. What's been the focus in practice? Again, extra week now to prepare for the NCHL opener.
Yeah, we're obviously it's a conference game. It's important, but we're trying to treat them like any other opponent, and we're just trying to stick to our game plan. It's a good game plan, and we're just trying to be able to execute it to perfection. So, yeah, and obviously it helps when you have really good goaltending. So, yeah, that's pretty much it.
With that being said, though, is it kind of hard sometimes not to get a little more amped up for this matchup, knowing that you guys haven't beaten Marion yet? You've been close, and they're, at least when you look at the NCHA and their history, that's kind of the team to beat.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the guys coming in, they've heard all about Marion. They're not really sure yet, but they'll figure out pretty quickly that it's usually a pretty intense game. they like to play really physical, and we have to be ready for that. And I think a lot of the returners still, we went to overtime with them how many times in the past couple of years, so we're really itching to get one. We really want to flip the script. So
again, the team will be in Fond du Lac on Friday at the Ozaki Ice Center, a 7:30 drop of the puck on Saturday, and we'll also the broadcast for you if you cannot be in person on the Falcon Athletic Network. Wrap it up by just asking the goals you have for yourself or the team as this season progresses.
I think we want to win conference, first of all, and every year after last year we want to make it back to nationals. So, yeah, those are the big goals.
Well, Scott, all the best. We'll see you at the rink on Saturday, and best of luck Friday, and thanks for joining us here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
ECHA hockey again in action this weekend. Check out CUWFalcons.com. When we come back here on Falcon Focus, our attention turns to women's hockey.
Since 1978, Lutheran Church Extension Fund has had the humble privilege of supporting the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod in fulfilling its mission of sharing the gospel.
Thanks to our faithful investors, we provided thousands of church workers, congregations, schools, and organizations with the resources they need to reach more people with the saving name of Christ. It's what we do.
Because our greatest joy comes from seeing LCMS Ministries and her workers thrive, we will continue to make precious resources available, both today and far into the future. It's our promise to you.
We are Lutheran Church Extension Fund.
We are Lutheran Church Extension Fund.
We are Lutheran Church Extension Fund. We want to be part of your great and exciting work.
Welcome back to Falcon Focus. Our focus now on women's hockey as they will officially, for real, drop the puck next Tuesday, Ozaki Ice Center at 7 o'clock versus Lawrence. The 15th season for the women's hockey team here on the Concordia campus. And coming off a couple of exhibition games this past weekend. We'll talk about that as we go along. But a couple of exhibition opportunities against St. Norbert. But Ellie Tabeka, kind enough to join us, the brand new assistant for women's hockey and women's lacrosse. Ellie, the pride of Maplewood, Minnesota. Let's start by just, what brought you here to Concordia? What made this dual opportunity attractive for you?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here. And I guess ultimately, I think overall just what this opportunity brought was I was just really excited to kind of dig deeper into coaching. And I know growing up as an athlete my whole life, coaches have made a huge impact. Both negative and positive, and I've definitely learned a lot. And it's kind of my time to give back, and I wanted to take this opportunity to come over to Concordia and this community and give back and meet new people and make new connections and continue with the sports that I love, hockey and lacrosse. And yeah, ultimately give back to the community and try something new, move somewhere new. So.
We'll touch on as we go along that you got the opportunity to play, I'm sure, Concordia in the Midwest Women's Lacrosse Conference during your days with Augsburg.
Yeah.
But did you know much about Concordia prior to taking this position?
Not specifically. I knew where it was. I've actually had visited campus once before, specifically the Bluff, which is absolutely beautiful. You can't pass that up. But overall, as a school, I did not know much about Concordia before coming here.
Of course, things are starting to pick up for you with practices, and soon regular season games will officially get underway. How are you enjoying your time so far?
Good. I'm excited to get into things. I'm excited to have things to do every day. I'm excited for competitions and hard work, and I understand the time commitment. I'm excited to be with the players every day, be with the coaching staff, and just start this grind through the season.
You began your collegiate career with St. Thomas. You were a Tommy and got the opportunity to play hockey for the Tommies, won a couple of conference championships, a couple of NCAA tournament appearances. At least initially, what led you to be a Tommy, and I guess your highlights and memories from being on those two hockey championship teams?
Yeah, so ultimately what led me to be a Tommy, they're just one of the three schools I was talking to at the time, and overall my conversations with the coaches, with the team at the time was just what kind of drew me to them initially. Also being not too far from home, which was kind of the exact opposite of where I thought I would end up, but it ended up working out. But yeah, that was kind of the initial draw, and then the campus is beautiful, so you can't really pass that up. And then yeah, I think ultimately what made my experience at St. Thomas was just my teammates, the coaching staff. It was great. We were a very, very strong team, which just adds on to everything. But ultimately, it was my teammates who made my time there worthwhile, for sure.
When you were there, was there talk already about making that move from Division III to Division I, as they have now, this being their first provisional year in Division I?
I don't remember specifically. I would say the biggest piece of conversation that was happening at the time was just football and how dominant they were compared to other teams at the time. So I think there was a little bit of buzz going around, but nothing that I can remember of being a serious move towards D1 at the time.
Well, and I guess to wrap up the whole St. Thomas talk, you bring up, the football team being competitive. A number of programs across that campus have been competitive,
right.
And the way it was dubbed was they were ousted out of the MIAC.
Yep.
Did you ever get that vibe when you would go to different schools? Was there always, maybe a different mood going, we want to beat St. Thomas because they're so good? Was there a different vibe when you went across the different college campuses?
Yeah, I would say that St. Thomas definitely had a big target on their backs for whatever reason. I don't know. I'm sure everyone has their own opinion on that. I would say competitiveness was a big one, and I think, like you said, a lot of teams were towards the top of the conference, and so I think that in itself puts a big target on their back. So
you then made the move to another MIAC school, and you transferred to Augsburg, became an Augie.
Yep.
Was the hope when you made that move to get the opportunity to play not only hockey but to also add lacrosse?
So I initially left St. Thomas with no plans or intentions of playing hockey or sports at all.
Okay.
And so when that opportunity kind of fell into my lap, I wanted to just make the most of it. There was not a D3 team at St. Thomas. They had a club team at the time, and so that was never really in question. But then once that opportunity arose at Augsburg, to be able to play both, and then meeting teammates who did the same, played both, I just felt like I couldn't pass it up.
So what are your earliest memories? What got you into the sports of hockey and lacrosse?
I think neither of my parents played either, which is kind of funny. And I think we ultimately just kind of wanted to try something new. And my uncle was into hockey, and so he pressured my parents to throw me and my two siblings in skates, and we did, and then all three of us just stuck with it. So,
of course, I have to ask you now, being an Augie at this point in the MIAC, getting the opportunity, I'm sure, to play St. Thomas again in hockey.
Yeah.
What was that experience like to face your former teammates?
Yeah, I can say that I was pretty fortunate to leave St. Thomas on a positive note. And seeing them, it was kind of fun to play against them. And seeing my coach, he was still supportive. And so it was fun. It was like a nice little rivalry.
In lacrosse, the Augies competed, as mentioned, against the Falcons in the Midwest Women's Lacrosse Conference. Do you remember anything about those battles? I know there were some good ones toward the end of the Falcons Association of the MWLC, but do you remember anything about those Falcon-Augie battles?
I just remember that whole season was just pretty competitive overall. We had quite a few games that kind of came down to the second half, and whichever team won it more was going to come on top.
I read that you graduated from Augsburg with a degree in graphic design. So, of course, with that being said, graphic design now to coaching. How did you go and get into the coaching ranks?
Well, I have coached lacrosse since graduating high school, and both my parents are teachers, and I think that just kind of came naturally. But I've definitely seen the behind the scenes of teaching, and I think coaching is as far as I'll go into that realm. But I have a ton of respect for teachers, and like I said in the beginning, I know what an impact those kind of authority figures can make in people's lives, and that's ultimately how I got into coaching.
Let's dig a little bit deeper. One of the answers you had earlier was, from a coaching standpoint, you've seen the good and you've had the bad. As far as influences go, maybe who are some of the positive influences who have helped shape you into the now coach you're becoming?
I can definitely say both of the collegiate coaches that I had, Tom Pelkowski at St. Thomas and then Michelle McAteer at Augsburg, both had influence on me in different ways. And so those two I would have to ultimately thank, as well as Coach Mo, who now is the head coach at Concordia Moorhead. She was my assistant at St. Thomas and then moved over to Augsburg, so I got to kind of take that journey on with her. So the three of them are definitely names that I can throw out for being big influences on me.
And you have a background, last couple of years in coaching as far as high school lacrosse, correct?
Mm-hmm. Correct, yep.
And one of those schools being Visitation, home of the Blazers.
Yep.
That was their inaugural season?
Yeah, for hockey.
Okay, in hockey. How was that
Yep.
experience?
It was good. I definitely learned a lot. I kind of just, again, jumped at an opportunity, and I'm glad that I did. I only had 15 skaters, so I think that kind of helped being it my first year. But yeah, I learned a lot. It was fun. With the pandemic going on, there was a ton of different things that we had to adjust and pivot to, the two words that I feel are thrown around a lot. But ultimately, I learned so much about my coaching style, kind of how I want to adjust in the future. I just learned about being head coach and the different responsibilities that come with that versus an assistant coach. And I've never really had that role before, so it was awesome.
And that head coaching opportunity came after you were an assistant at your high school, your alma mater?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
for lacrosse.
Now, I want to test your memory a little bit because
Okay.
you're not that far removed from college, but I stumbled across one of your old bios from your days at St. Thomas.
Oh,
And
gosh.
on the bio, they have a questionnaire of your favorite this, favorite that. And I'm just kind of curious to know if your favorites have changed, just kind of testing, how far removed you are from your college days. And it said your favorite, well, I'm not going to tell you what it said. I'm just curious to know what your favorite movie might be.
Oh, gosh, I don't know.
Do you remember
I
what you
feel
put down on that bio?
No, but I will say I feel like I kind of just had to give an answer with those.
So none of those could have been like your favorite anything. You just
I
put
would
something down?
say they are up. They are one of my favorites. Can I just say that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say like one of my favorites. I don't know if I have a specific movie or song or food or whatever else it
I
asks.
was going to say the bio said The Heat and 42.
Okay, those are good movies.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think it said for favorite food?
I think it's an orange chicken.
It does. Is that
yeah,
still?
I would say that's definitely at the top of my list.
Is there any
still.
particular place?
I don't know. I can't give you one right now.
Favorite athlete?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Back then you said Sidney Crosby.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like that's a pretty basic answer.
But it didn't ask you what your favorite NHL team is, but do you have a favorite hockey team?
I would say I don't have a favorite. I do enjoy just watching hockey overall, but I don't dig too deep into that world, I guess.
And the final favorite it asked was if you could have lunch with one person. Do you remember who you wanted to have lunch with?
I do not. No.
Luke Bryan.
Oh, that would change.
That would
I don't know. Yeah. No. I would probably change that. Yeah.
When you look, is it a big advantage for you, speaking, asking, have you changed from your college days? And you're not that far removed. Is that a big advantage that, you can relate to the players because you just pretty much went through what some of these athletes are going through now, minus the pandemic?
Yeah, I think so. I think I was also fortunate to coach through my college career because I think that there's two different sides to being a coach and being a player, and so I think both of those are a huge advantage. And between my transfers of schools, I actually took a whole semester off. And like I said, I didn't play hockey that year. I took a whole year off of hockey and just coached. And so going back to that was a huge advantage. And I do think that being a recent grad also has its perks too.
Now preparing for this 2021-22 women's hockey season, how have you gone about preparing? Do you watch film? Do you look at old stats? Do you talk to players? How do you figure out what each player's strengths and weaknesses might be?
Yeah, so I've definitely done a lot of just kind of watching through practices. Haven't watched a ton of old film yet. I think with half of our team being new and last year being the year it was, I'd have to dig a little bit further back than just the previous year. But I think I've definitely kind of asked them too, what are your strengths and weaknesses, giving them pointers and just kind of mostly observing at practices thus far.
Falcon women's hockey team coming off a year in which they won 10, lost 9, but again, a very unique winter last year. Predicted 5th this season, out of 9 in the NCHA. This past week, as mentioned, a pair of exhibition opportunities against St. Norbert up in De Pere this past Friday. Ended up winning that one by a 3-1 score at the Ozaki Ice Center on Saturday. Fell by a 3-2 final. But again, scores withstanding. Your takeaways from what you saw from your team this past weekend?
I'm excited. We looked fast. We looked strong. A few kinks to work out, but if we didn't have things to work on, then we would already be at the top. So I'm really excited with what we saw this weekend. I think our players are excited to kind of get going. It's been a long preseason. They've been working hard. So it's going to be great to have things to look forward to each weekend and competition to look forward to.
Well, as you mentioned, it's, we look at the roster, a lot of new faces, but to wrap it all up, prior to Tuesday's opener against Lawrence, against 7 o'clock at the Ozaki Ice Center, right now, without having played a game, what do you see as being strengths of this team? What do you see as being the keys if this team is to be successful, if you guys are to exceed expectations of the NCHA? What needs to happen?
We need to approach every game like it's our last, and every game like it's the toughest competition. We need to have this consistent mindset that we need to work for what we want. And I think thus far, like I said, they've been working really hard through the preseason and working together, being consistent, not taking any shifts off is what's gonna exceed those expectations for sure.
Well, Ellie, thanks a lot for your time, and I'm sure you've heard it many times from many other people, but welcome to Concordia.
Thank you.
Look forward to seeing you in action on the bench for women's hockey and then women's lacrosse shortly thereafter. But again, women's hockey will begin Tuesday, Ozaki Ice Center, 7 o'clock against Lawrence, and the NCHA opener comes your way November 12th against Trine. That will do it for this week's edition of Falcon Focus. Thanks to both of our guests, ECHA Hockey, Women's Hockey. Continue to check out CWFalcons.com for more Falcon action.